Moving to the UK now, public condemnation by the Board of Deputies of British Jews voicing its disapproval of a visit by Israeli lawmaker Bezalel Smotrich of the religious Zionism Party, the Jewish community's mainstream umbrella organization, taking to social media to say it rejects his abominable views and the hatred ideology of Bezalel Smotrich and calls on all its members to show him the door, adding, quote, "Get back on the plane, Bezalel, and be remembered as a disgrace forever." So for more on this story, we cross live to our UK correspondent, Jonathan Sacerdoti, who joins us from London. So Jonathan, supporters of the religious Zionism Party in Israel are obviously offended by this public lambasting from the Board of Deputies in the UK. Does this organisation represent the wider community in Britain?
Well, the Board of Deputies is a very old organisation, established in 1760. And since then, it's taken various forms and represented various different positions. At one stage in the 1930s, it was very much an anti-Zionist organisation, for example. But by 1939, with the new president, it became the opposite. Now, it claims to be the democratically elected mouthpiece of Anglo Jewry, but in reality, British Jews, of course, don't all have the same opinions on everything, or in fact, anything. And it does arrive at its positions on matters like this through the top, through the executive board, who are elected by the deputies, who in turn are elected by their community organisations. But that board doesn't really have any way of knowing what the public in Britain, especially the Jewish public, thinks of Mr. Smotrich. So some are arguing that this isn't an appropriate thing for them to have done, to speak on behalf of British Jewry. And also the fact that they've done it in Hebrew is very interesting, because they normally communicate with British Jewry in English. So it seems like this was aimed perhaps not in England at British Jews, but towards Israel and perhaps towards Mr. Smotrich himself, which again is causing some in the community to question why on earth they're engaging in that sort of discussion when they can't represent all views in Britain, some parts of Anglo Jewry have been very critical of this and will say that they support Smotrich. Others, of course, fully back this and say that they don't. And that's, in some people's eyes, why they shouldn't have made the comment at all.
And when one looks at the developments out of Israel, as we just heard there moments ago, Foreign Minister Yair Lapid commenting there about the impact of racist behaviour on Jewish communities abroad. Is any response expected from political leaders in London outside of Jewish organisations?
Well, not to this Smotrich affair, I think. I think it's seen perhaps as something of an internal affair, especially as it's written in Hebrew there. But today's strange exchanges on Twitter tell us more about the state of Anglo Jewry than they do about anything to do with Israeli politics, I think. And that's because they highlight disagreements and tensions at the heart of Jewish organisations here in the UK. And recently, the Board of Deputies has been the stage for some pretty fierce battles between various Jewish groups. A few weeks ago, a vote was held, for example, which required the Board of Deputies to officially censure the Jewish National Fund for its comments from its chairman he was reported to have said things about extremist Islam and the future of Jews in Britain in relation to Muslim immigration here. So bearing in mind that the JNF is one of the UK's oldest and most trusted British Jewish brands, it was unusual to see them engage in that kind of criticism. And now it seems like they're also taking positions on Smotrich. And indeed, there's now a vote to be held within the Board of Deputies about whether or not a fringe group on the other end of the spectrum of Israeli politics here in the UK should be censured, just as the JNF was, because they are said, or some of their members are said, to have engaged in saying Kaddish, the Jewish prayer for mourners, or those killed in Gaza, many of whom were members of Hamas. So there's this sort of infighting going on all the time, and I'm not sure that this is something which the Jewish community is expecting external politicians to comment on.